So Jacob was following the wishes of what Jehovah would have wanted them to do was to marry a cousin, marry from their own family or their blood relations, and so they, according to how they believed, that's what they were doing. So Jacob was following through, and Jacob will be blessed. Jacob will sleep somewhere, and according to the story, Jacob slept somewhere, and God gave a vision to him. He said, "I'll bless you. This is what you do. I love you for what you are doing." And God demonstrated His love towards Jacob. Jacob was obedient, even though Jacob was incest. He was practicing incest. God loved him. So why today Christians who are blending with what the Jewish people have taught or the Torah has taught and all that, following the genealogy of Abraham all the way Isaac and Jacob and all that, we have to do something different. People will get locked up if they end up in the incest practice. It's seen as a taboo, as something which is wrong, evil, or something like that. But here you can see that it is something that God really loved, had no issue at all. And truly that is how God expects to breed the whole human race or something. Because it's strange how it's like Jacob was being encouraged. Even he had to marry 2 of his cousins. Jacob has to marry, end up. Esau ending in the house of Ishmael, or taking a daughter from house of Ishmael, even makes it. You think that will make it better, but no. Ishmael was not considered as true descendant of Abraham in some ways. So he wasn't, impressing his father by going to the house of Ishmael and having, he was being enticed by outsiders. Now Jacob here end up, in his journey to going to, he had so many God experiences. God was, with him all through. When he had to go all the way to meet, he had to make altars and all in honoring God because he was having visions. At this state of fear, he is experiencing visions and all kinds of strange things, and he so attribute that to God. Jacob marries Leah and Rachel. His real true love was Rachel. But he couldn't marry Rachel because they end up giving him Leah in the dark, when he was asleep, and he thought Leah was Rachel. That's what the story says. And he slept with her, and he sort of had children. And at the end of the day, the bad news is even the Rachel, his choice, cannot even have child at that time. It took a long time for her to also to have a child, just like what happened to Sarah. And when Rachel had a child, he also, she I think she had a child and she did not have child anymore, and she had to they were challenging each other in the childbirth. Because now Leah also began to give his maid servant to his husband to have a child. And then Rachel also gave her maid servant to the husband to have a child. And so some of their children were being breed out of servants, just like Ishmael. What happened to Abraham? Because I'm sure they knew the story of their father Abraham. They all knew, they were familiar with those stories. Their forefather, their great grandfather. So it was normal for, and God had no problem with these things. These are men. Jacob and Abraham and Isaac are men that is being used to call the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob. It is even used in prayer. These are strong names that stand in honor of who? Jehovah. It is seen as the living God. If you want to say the living God, these are the names that live. The God of Isaac, the God of Jacob, the God of Abraham. It's said several times, it's the Jewish God. Jehovah loved these people. Now, how on earth would you think that incest practiced person that has engaged in incest and has built a family, and probably religious person or not religious person, you think now that God hates that person? Why would God do that to that person? Why would God hate such a person if he loved? He liked Jacob, he liked Esau. There were other women there at that time, so they had no reason to go and sleep with their own sisters. They have no reason to have done that. If it was the time of Adam and Eve, that is a different thing. Or Cain and Abel is different. that this is a time where it wasn't necessary for them to go and sleep with their cousins, because there were other people there. Some of them is what Esau, who went to choose from outside, outside his brothers and sisters, that they even hated Esau. That Esau, not hated, but Esau didn't get a chance because his father was not too happy about the way Esau was doing. Rather, if Esau had gone to the family and married there, he would have pleased his father more. His father would have loved him for doing that. But today, your father will hate you for doing that. And your father may be a Christian, may be following the same Jehovah of that. Now, you ask yourself, is it the same God? Obviously, the way we have transformed and changed to become, the signs of the time, the result of our life, how we reflect, tells us that it is not the same God. Now, this is one proof also that you can see here. It is not the same God. Today, compare the practice of today, the understanding, the laws, how things are being done, and compare to that time of the Old Testament, the Torah, how the genealogy was, the God Abraham, Jehovah. Is it the same God? It's not. Obviously not. Rather, it is a more God of the Esau side. The attitude of Esau is what it is there today. So the true God that we are claiming, we've drifted from his way, and we are not accepting that we've drifted, but we are thanking him. We are rather changing his true will and putting something else on him and saying that this is who he really is. He would have preferred that of what Esau was doing and not necessarily what Jacob was doing. But the book is also telling you that it is what Jacob was doing, Isaac was doing, Abraham was doing, that God preferred, that God loved, that God blessed, and not what Esau was doing. Because he even said before Jacob that Jacob will rule over Esau. Now, I'm not the one saying this, but before, just about 8 years ago, I wasn't seeing these things. I don't know why I'm seeing it now. I wasn't thinking this way. I wasn't even thinking about the story this way. So the shock of my life from 2003 is making me re-look into the Bible, reading through the book again, reading through Quran, attaching it to Quran, looking what the Quran had to say, because it's a more closer book to the Bible than any other book. And maybe the Buddhist book in some way, but I've not got that. But I know Quran is more closer to the Bible than any other. To see the story of their cousins. These are people who live in the same area. They fight. They live in the same. They all coming from Abrahamic background. So their great-grandfather descended stories is what they are presenting to us. What Muhammad has speak or whatever it came from. There is a similar link that I have put out in some of the videos to tell you that there are things in this book that is also in the Bible. So Quran and the Bible has some they share relations in the storyline, because it's coming from the same, like the same true the same family inheritance. But it's just that they had their differences, just like everybody have a difference with his brother. There's the Quran and there's the Bible here, that the two of them have some relation, something that linked up together. So when I looked at those stories, and still I was seeing the conflict, that even they are not agreeing with the same story. They are having slight difference in their storyline. So what God was speaking to Muhammad, and he was deviating. He was making another story up. And what God was speaking to this of those who wrote the Holy Bible, that they also were making errors. I mean, what on earth is going on here? And then the story became clear to me again. Then I have to define who God is. Because the voice that might speak to me or has spoken to me hasn't given you an order, but a warning, a strong warning, an enlightenment. It opened your eyes to the fact and thinking things through. You say, hey, use your mind. Have understanding of what you're reading. See clearly what is happening. Relate things. Match it up and see if you are actually doing an honorable thing. And precisely, that's what I've done. And that's what I'm sharing with you. I'm not going to live a selfish life. I'm sharing it with you because I care about you. I love you out there. And I expect you to also return back that same love, that same concern, that same responsibility that I share with you. It's not for a fee. It's something that your time is only needed. It's required. And it's entirely up to you. If you want to come and give me £1 million, thank you for it. I receive it. So hang in there and don't give up yet. as I humbly